Hey Ali,
Hello, how you doing?
welcome to Behind the Business podcast. Thank you for being my second guest.
Very
Very,
exciting.
I'm excited to have you on too. I've been having a good look at what we're about to talk about, so we'll get stuck in. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to loosen us up a little bit.
Do it.
I'm not going to ask the questions on what's written on the back of your board. We're just gonna we'll
I'll pretend
just
it's mine the whole time.
pretend it's yours. Look even more clever than you are.
Oh yeah.
So, Ali. Um, Hang on, I haven't even introduced you. It's Ali Kennedy from Sharenanigans. And she's going to tell us all about her amazing game that she's launched and the reason why, and a bit of a journey from the concept to where you are now. But we're going to start with a few questions. You were born in,
Christchurch, New Zealand. So haven't moved far.
you haven't moved far, and you now live in
Christchurch. Yes.
Christchurch through and through. That's awesome. Um, okay, well, how about then? What do you love to do in Christchurch?
The outdoors, definitely. I love that Christchurch is a city where you can be at the beach, the mountains, the walking tracks, biking tracks. My flat's up in the hills, so we live a very
Wow.
outdoorsy lifestyle, which is always fun, and try to do whatever we possibly can outside of work. So
Yeah,
yeah,
take your
it's a
mind off
very
things.
yeah, and it's a small city, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Lived in Auckland for a bit, and that was I really enjoyed it. But then you realise how a close-knit community Christchurch is, and everyone knows everyone, which is cool.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. So I was going to say, what's the thing you most love about Christchurch? But is that kind of the outdoors, or is there other things?
Yeah, things I love most about Christchurch, probably my friends and family are here. But yeah, definitely that outdoorsy side of it as well.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Right, I want to hear about your story. So I know a little bit about it, but for everyone else, how did you get started in Sharenanigans?
Yeah, so I suppose High Level Shenanigans is a board game all based on how to invest in shares. Started about over 2 years ago now because um, realized I didn't know anything about how to invest and kind of got in the mindset of I don't have the skills, money, or knowledge to start investing and didn't really know where to start. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize this is a real problem within New Zealand specifically. Um, and so I started to deep dive in the problem of we really lack knowledge of how to invest in shares. Originally thought it was going to be an app, and very quickly did not have the knowledge, skills, or money to be able to build an app, or just didn't know how to get started with it, and it kind of fizzled out. But I kept, at the time, talking to parents and teachers. I worked in high schools across New Zealand through Young Enterprise Scheme, and teachers were saying, not another app, we're trying to get our kids off devices,
Off
and
screens,
parents
yeah.
kept saying, good luck getting my kid off TikTok and onto an app about investing. And I was 19 at the time and honestly could agree with them. So yeah, started kind of thinking of different ways of not only how do you grow the knowledge of investing in shares, but we needed to take a few steps back of the problem was we just weren't um, talking about it enough. It wasn't a
Yeah.
topic of conversation. So the problem changed from one, it was we lack the knowledge, but I was now very much focused on how do you spark more conversations in the share market,
Yeah.
about the share market. And just one day, someone mentioned that my drawings of just the overall concept looked like a board game, and it stuck. I went that day, bought a board game, stuck it with paper, started doing game trials, and that was kind of the day Shenanigans was born of yeah, creating this fun and interactive way of introducing not only children but people of any age to the share market in a way that's not intimidating. You don't have to feel like you're going to lose real money by practicing and
Yeah.
learning and
That's
all of
so
that.
cool. And I
Yeah,
love that you actually physically put it onto a board game so you could visualize it and needed
yes,
to see
yeah,
it first. And the fact that you didn't just do another app, you had a thought of getting kids away from screens,
Yeah.
and you listened to parents and teachers, even though
Yeah.
they said good luck with that. You still had a gut feeling that you were onto something.
Yeah. Well, both teachers and parents really loved it, and they not only like loved the concept of trying to spark more conversation. But not only did they love it for children, but they were like, I need that for myself,
Mhm.
was the main kind of feedback that we got. So right from the start, when it became a ball game, I realized that this is the perfect way to bridge the intergenerational knowledge gap, for to use bigger words, but
Yeah.
to basically make sure it's something that all ages can do together, and it creates this family concept of open conversation, which we've seen is so valuable for children to be part of those conversations. And I've had parents that know a lot about the share market tell me that they just didn't know that they could start bringing that up with their kids. And now that they have, or their children are now the drivers of the questions because of shenanigans, they're like, wow, my children understand and can take in a lot more about money than I ever thought they would. And
Yeah.
we're talking about 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, um, grasping the concepts. And they might just think it's a fun kind of game to start with, but as soon as they start connecting the dots in real world, and that might not come until they're 18 and start actually learning about the real life share market. But it's those grassroots
Yeah.
things that, yeah.
And I love that because it doesn't matter whether they realize they're learning it or not, or they're just enjoying a game. But as we know, kids soak up everything, whether it's languages, behaviors, activities. So
Yeah.
that something that you've created, something that families can do together, or teachers can do with kids at school. And I think we underestimate kids, don't we? We're never too young to kind of open up these conversations.
Yeah, yeah, big time. I was just doing a talk in a primary school, got asked to talk in front of year ones to fours. And at first I was going to say no, because I was like, I don't know how to talk about money to year ones to fours,
Yeah.
especially like we're talking 5-year-olds.
Yeah. That can hardly sit
And
still in assembly.
yeah, yeah. And then I was like, oh, you know what? It doesn't really matter what I say, because I don't even know if they're going to be listening to me.
Yeah.
And it was the most engaged group that I've ever spoken in front of. One
Wow.
boy, right from the start, I asked them, we just did simple, what is money? And I asked, how do you make money? And one boy who was just turned 7 put up his hand and said, well, you can make money through putting money away into an interest account, or into a savings
Oh,
account, and you'll get interest. And I was like, and he's like, and I suppose you can also buy portions of companies which are called shares, and you hope that you make money from them, but you have to be smart about it. And I was like, oh, do you want to come up here? Like, that's all I have to say.
that's our
Um,
new president in 20 something
yeah,
years,
yeah.
our new prime minister.
But I asked him, I was like, how do you know all of that? And he's like, oh, I just finished reading Barefoot Investor for Kids. Um, so it's
Wow.
the kids' version of the
Yeah.
famous book. And he took in probably more information from just reading that book once. And I think it's quite interactive as well, but more than I've taken from any book I've ever read. But he
Wow.
understood every concept.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they all just really loved the idea of talking about money.
I love it.
And
And
many of them already had Sharesies accounts. So
that's
yeah,
so good. And just, yeah, making it a normal conversation, not a topic of taboo or uncomfortable for parents. Because the more we can learn now, hopefully it will help a whole generation of children just be more aware of money, especially
yeah,
with the whole cost of
absolutely.
living crisis and that kind of thing. So I was going to say, how does your business help people? We've kind of touched on that, but if you wanted to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah. I think so. One pushback that I can get is older people who have had a bad experience in the share market, and they are like, you can't be, forcing this down children's throats of you have to invest in shares. But the way I look at it is that I'm never saying you have to invest in shares, you must invest in shares. It's the best way to grow your wealth. But we're trying to make sure that more people know it's an option. It is genuinely just like you can say empowering people with the knowledge of knowing that you don't just have to save up for a house and invest in property, because that is what's forced to us at the moment.
We're
If you
just
talk to
told
most
that, aren't
people,
we?
yeah,
Yeah.
our goal is to buy a house at some
Hmm.
stage, buy multiple houses, whatever it might be. And we just lack the knowledge of that there's more options out there of how to grow wealth for the future. If you talk to people in America, the term FIRE comes up more often of what their goal looks like, which is financial independence, retire early. And it's basically the concept is putting lots of money away through investing, through a lot of share investing in the share market, and you basically get to a point where you can live off the dividends and returns
Right.
really early on. And it's a lot of their goals now, children, because it's taught to them, or taught to them. But in New Zealand, that's just not a concept. So
Yeah.
it is just giving people the knowledge that it's something out there if you want to learn more. We're not teaching people exactly how to invest and how to get started and what to invest in. It is genuinely just, here's this thing, you might be interested. If you are, you now know it exists.
Yeah. It's
So
sparking that curiosity and starting
it
a
is.
conversation.
It is.
And it's like with any children's thing, you don't give a kid a truck or something and assume that they're going to be a mechanic. Like you just
Yeah.
open it, it's curiosity and it's play, but actually it's seeding some ideas as well and having
Yeah.
conversations at home. So that does help people. And it also helps parents, I guess, if they don't know how to talk to their children about money or they've never had their parents talk to them about money before. Because there is generations of us that money wasn't really talked about.
Yeah.
So I think it helped, from what you've said, it's great. It helps the younger generation get interested in it and maybe spark some other ideas of how they will make money. It's so
Yeah.
important. It's amazing. It's made me think about it too. So it's a short amount of time, but there's a lot to be proud of. But what would you be most proud of in your business journey so far?
Yeah, it is really tricky because I suppose every milestone is that little bit probably more progress, so then you're a little bit more proud. But I think
Yeah.
still to this day, is getting that pledge me. So when we had to raise a minimum of $40,000 to manufacture the board games, so yeah, I suppose I didn't go the traditional route of trying to get investors or anything like that. So I do have shareholders, but that's all sweat equity from doing the designs. But yeah, doing the Pledge Me campaign and in 3 weeks having to raise $40,000. So we ended up raising 48,000 through pre-sales and selling spots to businesses on the boards and things like that. So that was a very stressful 3 weeks. But yeah, getting that past the line was probably still my proudest moment of that's when it became real. Now we had pre-orders that we had to make a game for.
Now it's real.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. I'm proud of you. That's like,
Oh, thank you.
and to see the physical game must have been mind blowing.
Yeah. Oh,
But the
getting the
fact,
first sample, that was a day, yeah, I will never forget. And yeah, I think getting in the warehouse was a big one for us as well because I remember my very first business pitch that I did for a uni competition and my very first one-page business plan. It's like shops you will sell in, and I'm like the warehouse. Like you don't really think you're like, oh, that's something that they will want to see in like the pitch competition or the business competition. But to actually see that through and to be like, wow, like 3 years ago I just wrote that on a bit of paper and now
and
we're
now
actually
it's
on the shelves in the
happened.
warehouse. So yeah, it's definitely ticking off those things that you remember talking about as just an idea way back a couple of years ago. But
I was going to say you've done it quickly, like you've from concept or talk to the physical game, and now it's in the warehouse. That's actually quite a short business journey. That's amazing. A lot of people have these ideas for years and years, but you made it happen. And there's a lot in that. Write it down and see what happens. Stick to the goals. So that's all the really cheery, warm, fuzzy feeling questions. How, what have you found most challenging about running the business, running Shenanigans?
um, it changes day to day, probably. Like
That's okay.
there's always challenges that pop up, but I think on a more personal side, that I know a lot of founders, specifically solo founders, face is that it can be quite isolating. Like, I've always been used to working in teams where you're bouncing ideas off people, and I have brought on people at a higher level to kind of be, we'll meet every so often, every 2 weeks, and go over higher level things, but day to day, it is me.
Yeah.
So yeah, not having someone to constantly bounce ideas off, or even when it comes to filming social media content, you're like, wow, it's just me again. Um,
Hello
it
again.
yeah, and for an extrovert as well, like I thrive off being around people and talking to people. So I worked for a bit just in an office by myself or working from home, and it was tough. Like you really do start to think, oh, maybe I'll just go for work for a big corporate company and have
Yep.
the more social side of things. Now working in a more collaborative space up at uni, has definitely helped with that. But yeah, it's always one of those things where it can get very isolating and you're not having people around you. Yeah, definitely that's probably been my biggest challenge.
I
Um,
think you're probably, what you've just said is highly relatable to any business owner that's either come from, corporate background or whatever, where you meet, have a cup of tea with someone in the staff room or whatever,
yeah,
and then you're literally like, it's tumbleweed. You've got
yeah,
no one to bounce ideas off. You've got no one to hold you accountable to what you said you were going to do.
yes, that's a big one as well.
It's the accountability, it's the isolation, and then also friends and family are great, but they don't necessarily understand what you're going through, or
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
they're probably going to tell
Successes.
you what you want to hear as well.
Yeah, big time. I think success is also measured with your friends and family that probably more have general or corporate jobs. Um, like anyone in kind of the startup world and the business world just understands the small wins that you've got to celebrate. If you create your first prototype or your first sale or
Yeah,
anything like that,
if
it's
you've
like
made it through the week.
yeah. Anything like that, right? But yeah, going to your friends and family, it's a little bit different. Like they're waiting to see, oh, when you hit your first million, when you buy
Yeah.
a fancy car, your big house, like that to them is business success. Whereas I
Hmm.
think when you're in it, it's very different but also challenges. Like you can't really be like, oh, I faced this today because
Yeah.
you really get it unless you're, yeah, also in the business space.
There's no one around to have a little meltdown with as well and have a little wobble, because let's face it, when you start a business there are wobbles, and
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have people around you, but I guess it just makes you super independent, and the accountability is all on you, so you have to get it
yeah,
done unless you do surround yourself with other
yeah.
people.
You get used to
uh,
wearing a lot of hats.
you do,
Every
and
role.
especially you're still in year 3 or year 2
Um, Well, yeah, year two.
ish.
We only got the product last November. So,
Oh wow.
um, yeah,
Okay.
what's that, like 6 months?
Yeah, still fresh.
Yeah, still fresh.
So it might have only been a few months, but I feel like you'll have a lot of these. But what lessons have you learnt as a business owner so far? Or
Um,
something that sticks out to you that, you know,
yeah, I think how important people are. My hot take is there's no such thing as a self-made entrepreneur. I think no matter where you come from, people are always going to be one of the most important assets in your journey. And yeah, I just having the ability to network, and of not just not just meeting people, but actually forming relationships has probably been the most impactful thing in my business. I think a lot of our achievements have come from meeting people, and they get behind you as a person, not just you as a business. And yeah, I got told that right from the start, like people are going to back you.
yeah,
Um,
you are the business.
yeah, exactly. So my very first mentor I ever had said, it doesn't matter if you're the smartest in the room, richest in the room, um, hardest working in the room. All that matters is that you don't be a dick.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
like that. Don't
yeah,
be a dick.
don't be a dick. And
That could be
honestly,
your
like,
next game.
Yeah, yeah, still live by that, especially in New Zealand. Everyone knows everyone. Like, if you're a dick
Right.
to a person one day, I guarantee in like a year they're going to be the decision maker for something that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, that's just the way New
Karma.
Zealand is. So,
Hmm.
and word does travel quickly. So it
I
is,
agree.
you can't ever be too big for your boots in New Zealand. You've got to, yeah, treat everyone as equal.
And be
But
kind. There's a lot said for that. But also, I
it's
guess as
easy.
women, we don't want to be walked over either. So there's that fine line of boundaries
Yeah.
and sticking with, your decisions, but also there's always time to be nice to someone. So that's a really good lesson, being, um, yeah, just having people around you
Mm.
and knowing when to ask for help and reaching out, I guess, with those people. And that's why you've got them. Um, so would you say, what do you attribute your growth to in the company or within yourself?
I think getting the right people on board very early on, I think I knew what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were, and really did try to build a team that had those strengths to fill the gaps that I had. Um, so, like, I work with three other males, all quite a bit older than me. So, I might not be working with my absolute best friends. They're my friends now if they're watching
Yeah,
this. Um,
I know what you mean though.
yeah, and so I think I like very early on just knew that I needed someone, one, to design the game,
Hmm.
to help me with all the marketing. And then now our most recent shareholder has a big global distribution company, and is really helping us see global and push global. But that was a big thing for us as well, is probably committing to doing bigger things than what small businesses are perceived to do. I don't know if that makes sense, but for
No, it does.
example, before our first lot of manufacturing, we got on a plane and went to Shanghai. And I was very lucky to have the opportunity to have shareholders that helped me do that. Um, but it meant, one, that was how we met the warehouse. So we didn't meet the warehouse in New
Oh,
Zealand. We couldn't open the door in New Zealand. But through a LinkedIn post, I said, I'm going to Shanghai. Who wants to meet? The supply manager of the warehouse group, who lives in Shanghai but from New Zealand, got tagged, and he said, come hang out with us, like, let's chat.
wow.
And after probably spending 2 hours with them in Shanghai, he called the New Zealand buyer and was like, we're getting this game stocked once it's ready. So it was just, whereas like a small business, you'd probably think, let's not waste money going to visit our manufacturers. But one, it was the best thing to do to establish that relationship with our manufacturers and see what else they do. But also, it took going global to almost get more credit in New Zealand. Like, people are
Yeah,
like, oh, they're
yeah.
taking it. Obviously, not everyone can do that in the early stages, so I'm very grateful for the help that I had.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've definitely done things that are probably not normal in the early stages,
Yeah,
and
you've just
really,
gone for it.
yeah, we have like did all PR, whatever the national media we could get. We just jumped on anything, any chance we could get. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And actually, what a brilliant story that you had to go to Shanghai to get back into New Zealand.
Yes.
But, and the power of social media and LinkedIn and,
Yeah.
but I'm sure the face-to-face contact with someone like that would have been brilliant for you because you're a people person, you're an extrovert, you've said. So business is not just about the product, is it? It's about the person behind it. So I think that was a massive win for you, being able to be literally up front with him.
100%. Yeah. And I think like moving forwards, that's definitely, we want to expand overseas, but I'm like, get me in person,
Like, I want
not
a
over
trip,
Zoom.
trip to
Yeah.
America and Europe, please. I
Thanks.
demand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
We got a
fantastic. I
few more
love it.
sales to do before I can afford all the trips I want to take, but
Well, you never know. A few more sales, you get there.
yeah.
Um, so what would be a piece of advice for other business owners then trying to do things without help from others?
Um, Probably try and get help. But yeah, I always say just start having coffee meetings with people.
Yeah,
Um,
great
I
idea.
truly believe 20 coffee meetings can change your life, no matter if you're in a job, starting a business, you just want to grow like your network. Um, just finding 20 people and having an hour coffee with them. You never know who they might know, who their neighbor is, who their
Yeah.
auntie is. And yeah, you just have to find one person really, because then they'll probably be like, oh, you should meet with and talk with this person, and then reach out to them for a coffee, and then they'll be like, oh, you should talk to this person. And it's that network effect. But yeah, before you know it, you've kind of established yourself around people that do have expertise in areas, and you don't have to bring on shareholders or official mentors or advisors, but just having someone that you could, message when you need help or a little bit of advice here and there can make a big difference. Um, but yeah, get yourself involved in any communities of founders there are. I know in most major cities in New Zealand, there's a really good network of founders, business people. I went to University of Canterbury, so I have a good relationship with them up at the Entrepreneurship Centre. But you've got Ministry of Awesome if you're not at uni or at ATA here in Canterbury. So it's just like you do. I think it is always important to find people and try
Yeah.
surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, I love that. Putting yourself out there, and if you're nervous about it, what I'm hearing from you is start small, like book in a coffee with a couple of people or see how that goes. It takes the pressure off, like booking in meetings and stuff. And you're
Yeah.
right, Christchurch is small, communities are small, so news travels fast, and people want to help. Like
Yeah.
people want you to do well.
Oh, big time. That's another big learning is that how willing people are to help without anything in return. And some people just love sharing their knowledge, like whether it's not even coming from a place of them
Yeah.
wanting to help you, but if you're like asking questions, people love like
Yeah.
getting to be like, oh yeah, I know the answer. So yeah, more often than not, people are always just going to jump on the chance to, especially if you're early in business. I always
To
say, don't
see you
wait
do
till you
well.
have your finished idea. Just start getting out there, even if you don't have a business idea yet. Just start meeting with people in the business
Hmm.
space. It's
Because it
always
will turn into something. That's actually how I started my business. I had it in my head, but I wasn't sure exactly what it looked like. And I used to meet people on my lunch break at my work. Hopefully, my old boss isn't watching. And have coffee chats, or I'd buy them a juice or buy them a donut or something. And I did that for about a year and a half. Just met people. Wasn't sure where it was
amazing.
going,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. People want you to do well, and it sparks ideas, or it might get you to pivot or shift slightly in what you were thinking.
Yeah. Was that
I
in
think it's
Sydney that you
great.
were doing that?
Yeah, that was in Sydney a long time
Okay.
ago now, 10, 12 years ago. But yeah, just meeting different people. And like sometimes it's scary for you to even email someone or ask someone on LinkedIn and meet for a coffee, but people do want to help.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly you can then start putting things into practice. And then before you know it, you're off. It's amazing. Um, that was brilliant. I loved hearing about your story. I feel like I could ask you another 30 questions. You've got so much energy and passion, and you're so warm to talk to. I feel like everyone's going to want this to do really well. I think this is literally just the start for you, even though I'm sure it feels quite a lot. And I hope that we can stay in touch and see how things go. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before I wrap up?
Not that I can think of. Yeah,
Uh,
no, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Claire, and for having me on.
Not
It's
at
been
all.
very
I've
fun.
been sort of
Great way.
following your journey on LinkedIn and different posts, and obviously I told you about our daughter's really interested in that, and I didn't really know how to even talk about it, so that's what sparked my interest. But hang on after this when I stop recording, and we'll continue the conversation. But thank you, Ali from Sharenanigans, and yeah, good luck with everything, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Claire. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.